Hi everyone, this is I am Sagar Shah and today we are going to look at Vidit's win in the Poikovsky Karpov Cup 2018 against Anton Korobov. And I also wanted to discuss with you about the all new Komodo 12, and so we are going to club these two things together on this video, and I'm going to try to give you a sense of what the new engine is like by analyzing Vidit's game with it. Now, first of all, a word about Vidit's performance in this Karpov Poikovsky Cup. It's a very strong closed round robin tournament of 10 players. Today is the last round. He's going to face Artemiev, but until now he has had 6 draws. Vidit has 6 draws and 2 wins, which is extremely solid. 5 out of 8. He's in joint third position behind Yakovenko, who's on 6 on 8. And Nepomniachtchi, who's on 5.5. Vidit could have very well been on 5.5 right now if he would not have drawn that game against Gelfand, where he got stalemated. But coming back to this game, 8th round game against Korobov, Vidit and Korobov have had some sort of a rivalry recently. They both were racing towards the Masters section at the Tata Steel earlier this year, and Vidit won it, and once again he emerged as the winner in this game. So let's just have a look at the initial moves first. Vidit played e4, and this is one of the things that I wanted to discuss, that if you remember his first round win that was analyzed in one of the videos on ChessBase India, Vidit played d4 against Victor Bologan and won a very nice positional game, and now he plays e4. So for him, both the moves are not very different. He is very well versed with both of them, and we reached a Sicilian Najdorf position after the 5th move, a6, and here Vidit played bishop e3, e5, knight b3. This is all well known. Bishop e6, f3, h5, stopping g4 for white, and so Vidit went for knight d5, bishop takes, e takes, and knight bd7. So here white played the move queen d2 and black went g6. I was wondering why didn't black go directly knight b6, because after black played g6 in the game, white castled long and black could play knight b6. Black played knight b6 in the game, but in this position he first played g6, and why didn't he go knight b6? And that's when I realized that the king on e1 is very flexible right now, so white can just play c4, rook c8 and rook c1, and after bishop e2 he can just short castle. So g6 in a way is some kind of a waiting move over here, and also black is waiting for white to decide on what he wants to do. So if you play long castle like Vidit did, then we'll look at it in the game. But if you go bishop e2, then now not knight b6, because then c4 and rook c1 is just what white wants, but now just play bishop to g7, castles, castles, knight to a5, queen c7, c4 and e4, and you can see that the knight is well placed on d7. It can jump to e5 later on or c5. So that's the reason why after g6 long castle, only now does black determine the position of his knight and goes knight to b6. If you see that the d5 pawn is in big trouble now, because the knight is attacking, and if you want to defend it, you can play queen a5, but then bishop h6 is a nice move, exchanging this bishop, and after bishop h6, rook h6, king b1, king f8, g3 trying to get f4, king g7, f4, We have a normal position here. I mean, I don't think one side is better or something, but we have an interesting position. But Vidit had something much more interesting here, and he went for the move king to b1. He's just giving up that d5 pawn, and this is very interesting to see. So when you have the bishop pair, all that you want to do is open up the position for them. Now because of these pawns here, the position is kind of semi-closed. So Vidit says to his opponent that come and take this pawn, you know, I don't mind. At this point, it would be very interesting to see what the all new Komodo engine has to say. So let me just go and load the engine. So if you go to analysis, it's in home, Kibitzer, add Kibitzer, or you can press Ctrl K. Now you will see that I have two Komodo 12 engines here. One is the normal classic one, which I load now, which I have over here, and the other one, so on my left over here is the Komodo engine. That's the let's check feature. Well, you can just search on YouTube on any video on let's check. It's basically the results that have been found by someone else before and stored. So if you look here, my engine has only reached a depth of 18 in the last few seconds that I've begun it, while here there are some evaluations at the depth of 47. That would take around an hour or so, but these have been found by someone else and they have been stored in the database on the cloud by ChessBase. So that's the beautiful let's check function that is there. And now what I would do interestingly is load another engine, which is I don't know if my computer can take this, but the Monte Carlo version. Yeah, this is the Monte Carlo version on the top. Let me kind of shift spots because the classic version is on the top now and the Monte Carlo below it. So Komodo 12 comes with these two versions. One is the normal one and another is the Monte Carlo. As far as I understand, Monte Carlo is a feature where the engine plays many games with itself and then comes to an evaluation and then reaches the move that has to be made. While the classic engine, which we are all accustomed to, is the brute force method. So the basic thing is that in the brute force method, it will calculate all the possibilities and then decide on a move. So in many ways, the way in which the Monte Carlo feature works in Komodo 12 is like the alpha 0 method, where the importance is not given in the brute force, like you calculate all the lines, but much more importance is given to you know, the practical moves, some kind of a human touch to it. And that's why if you look at it, king b1 here, Monte Carlo suggests it right from the time you started it, while Komodo 12 says king b1, the classic version says king b1. Now I think it was for a long time recommending to make the move queen to a5. So the main idea is that we will have a look at these engines over here. And the difference between the classic and Monte Carlo is that classic engine is much stronger elo wise. I think it has somewhere around 3400 or in that range of rating, while the Monte Carlo engine is weaker, but it comes up with much more aggressive ideas. So I think in that sense it would be nice to use the Monte Carlo engine in attacking and aggressive positions. So we'll have a look at that. Now queen a5 could have been played in the game. That's what we looked at, but with it went king b1. This has been played before, knight b d5, bishop g5, bishop e7, but I think the real sort of a new idea here is bishop to d3 that Vidit came up with in the game, although it has been played before by Peter Leko against Areshenko. Also, I would like you to notice that once a move is made, then on the right, let's say bd3, you will see Monte Carlo doesn't show a move yet. it is still, it takes around 1 or 2 seconds more to come up with a move. Maybe it's because of the speed of my computer, but it takes some more time than the classic engine, and the way I figure it is because it's playing against a few moves against itself, and it takes a bit of time. By the way, my computer is right now working on is i7 processor, and has 16 GB RAM, so it's a pretty good one, although it's an old machine now, nearly 2 years, so maybe you might have much more powerful ones. So rook c8, now rook he1, getting the rooks to the game in the center, and here castle was played, and the move which computer is recommending here is the move g3. The idea is to play f4, but what Vidit did in the game makes complete sense. He went h3 because his plan is to play g4. Now if you assess the position, black is a pawn up, but white doesn't feel the absence of a pawn. You know, he's going to play g4, he's going to attack on the king side, his pieces are beautifully placed. The bishop here is looking at this side, and the bishop on g5 is nicely placed. So all in all, I would say that white is happy with his pawn deficit, and in this position Korobov went b5 so that his knight cannot be kicked off with c4. Vidit made the very natural move g4, and here came h4. I am not so sure about this pawn, giving back this pawn. Well, the idea could well be that white wants to play gh and open further lines, but yeah, after h4 Vidit just took bishop h4, and now the material is even, and after knight f4 bishop g3, attacking the knight, the bishop was taken, queen d3 and queen c7, and here we reach an important moment in the position. And I think if you look at the engines on your right now, then you will see that Vidit in the game played c3, but there are so many other interesting possibilities. Why should you go for c3? Isn't e4 possible? Sorry, f4 possible, or isn't h4 possible? So if you give some amount of time to both the classic engine and Monte Carlo, you might get some interesting observations here. For example, the classic engine right now suggests the move h4, trying to attack, or f4, and Monte Carlo is still coming up. It's still c3 has the top move here, but h4 is its suggestion, and I think in such positions you can think about, say, if you go h4, then look at the Monte Carlo engine, because it's really aggressive. So I think the reason why Vidit sort of did not want to go for this idea is because of e4, because you know he has to take, suppose, f into e4, and now knight g4, and in this position it's quite messy, and maybe this is where the Monte Carlo engine is better than the classic engine, although here the move suggested by both of them is h5, but the Monte Carlo engine is much more sure about it, that you should go h5, there are no other moves which need to be made. So I think when you want to attack and look at certain recommendations, then after knight e5, queen e2, I think white has a very strong attack on the king side. You should use Komodo 12 Monte Carlo version. That's what I feel. In the game, Vidit went for the move c3, queen c4, and now just keeping the queens on the board, although taking them would also give white a very clear edge in this position with f4 coming up. So queen d2, queen c6, f4, and now knight e4 was a good move, queen d3. I think Korobov could have just taken on g3 and played b4, after cb4 bishop f6, and he has good play in the position. I think decent amount of play for sure, but he went d5, and after f into e5, b4, c into b4, bishop b4, rook e2. I think white had everything under control, and he's also a pawn up for now. So in general it seems like black is in big trouble to find some kind of a compensation for his material deficit. a5, bishop f4. Here I think a4 could have been possible, but then queen into d5 was what Vidit was looking at. Let's say ab, queen c6, ba, king a2, rook c6, rook into e4, and I think white is just pawn up. So queen b6 here after bishop f4, and now came a very strong move by Vidit, which is a4, and I think we should be giving an exclamation mark for this move. He fixes the queen side in a way, and then he's looking at making use of the b5 square for his knight, and after g5, which was perhaps not the best move here, but already I'm not so sure what to advise. By the way, bishop c3 is an interesting possibility that should have been considered, and maybe Vidit has to play queen b5, and after rook b8, queen into d6, rook into b6. It seems like black is holding on in this position. So bishop c3 was sort of missed by Korobov. He played g5, and after bishop e3, now queen is attacked on b6, and after queen g6 comes king a2, rook f d8, knight d4, the knight comes to b5 square, rook c4, rook c2. So essentially what Vidit is doing is solidifying his position and his extra pawn after queen a6, knight to b5, bishop e7. I really like this phase of the game where he's able to keep control, not give his opponent any chances. Both the rooks were exchanged, and queen d4. So c3 will be met with b3, and so there is nothing much happening there, and after knight c5 he went knight c3. So if you just maintain your cool, you keep making the good moves in the position, then overall it seems like white will gain a decisive edge here. So knight d3, king b1, knight takes e5. Well, I think queen e5 was also possible, but after take and knight d5 attacking the bishop, bishop d8 and king c2, all of white's forces are working in perfect harmony, and these pawns are very weak. They're going to fall off pretty soon. So knight into e5, the pawn was recovered. Here perhaps queen d5 was stronger, but Vidit kept the queen, queen e4, bishop to b4, bd4, and yeah, here bishop into c3 was played. Perhaps you could move the knight, say knight to d3, but after queen e6, f e6, knight e4, it's still a very uphill task to defend this endgame. So bishop c3, bishop c3, f6, queen a8, and now the a5 pawn is lost. This is now just a matter of technique to take care that the queen and knight combo cannot weave a net. So queen b5, queen e4, king a2. I like how Vidit plays this position. He blocks all the counterplay and now starts pushing his a pawn, queen b6, queen e7, and the king comes back to b1, and seeing that the a pawn is pushing through, Korobov takes his final chance, but after king c1, queen h1, king d2, queen h2, king e1. The perpetual check is going to end, and white is just completely winning. So very nice game by Vidit. I hope that you sort of learnt a few things about the Najdorf. At the same time, you got to know about Komodo 12, these two versions which come inbuilt with it, the classic engine and the Monte Carlo engine, which you can use as per your requirements. I think classic engine is quite strong, but the Monte Carlo one keeps giving you some good ideas when the position is aggressive. Today the last round will be played, and I hope that Vidit is able to beat Artemiev and finish in top 3.